Hey, my name's Amy. Um, I decided to go ahead and make my first video log, my vlog, I guess. And I'm going to be talking about something that I've been dealing with for about 4 years, SVT, supraventricular tachycardia, and my experience with cardiac ablation. A little backstory, I'm 27, I was diagnosed at 23. My episodes were always heart pounding and up at like 220, 230 area and a little bit of shorter breath. But I've never been anxiety ridden with them. I've never passed out. I've never been so short of breath I can't breathe. Usually my episodes would only last about 15 minutes before medication, and then once I was on metoprolol, they would last anywhere from like 2 to 5 minutes. I went from 25 milligrams to 50 milligrams to 75 milligrams of metoprolol. About 3 months ago, I ended up in the ER. Not for SVT necessarily. I felt a numbing sensation, tingly all the way from head to toes, lost hearing in my right ear, and had blurry vision. Felt like I was going to pass out. My cardiologist felt like it was a neurological thing, so they sent me to the ER. This was about 7 hours after I felt that way, because I don't like to tell people I don't feel right. So when I got to the ER, I had no symptoms. My heart rate checked in at 118, which for me having SVT, I thought that was normal. I still feel like that's kind of normal. A safe place to be at 118. So they put me in the triage area with the rooms, and the doctors and nurses are like, okay, we'll be right back, blah, blah, blah. You know how they do that. So then next thing you know, I feel my heart racing, and I put my finger monitor on, and I'm at 250, which is my personal record now. And I'm cracking up because my sister's on the bed with vertigo and fibromyalgia pain, and I'm at a heart rate of 250, cracking up, taking pictures, taking video, and feeling fine in general. Like, the only feeling I had was the pounding heart. So the nurses came in, hooked me up, realized how high my heart was, and got the doctors. After 3 doses of adenosine, not doing anything, and the bearing down method, the legs up in the air and the blowing through a straw thing, none of that worked. The adenosine, by the way, for anyone freaking out about it, this was my first IV experience ever, and the doctors said that everyone feels the adenosine differently. For me, I was very verbal when they gave it to me. When they gave it to me, I felt it make my head heavy, make my shoulders heavy, make my chest heavy, my arms, my stomach, my legs, my knees, my calves, my feet, all just heavy. But then it quickly went away like they said it would. It's kind of a comparison to one of those rides at a fair that spin around really fast and the G-forces push you against the wall. That's how it felt from top to bottom very slowly, and then it just went away. So my experience with adenosine, it was kind of fun. It was a little weird, but kind of fun. But after the 3 attempts of that and the physical attempts, they were getting ready to cardiovert me via IV. Thankfully, I was able to get myself back down to a normal sinus rhythm, about 107, and I stayed there for like a half hour. So they were getting ready to discharge me from the ER when my dad started arguing with me about the ablation. And immediately I went from 107 to 238. Needless to say, they ended up keeping me in the ICU that night, even though I brought myself back down. They wanted to make sure I was okay. So after that ER visit, obviously you have to go back to your cardiologist for a follow-up. My cardiologist came up to me, introduced himself, and shook my hand like he never met me. That immediately set me off. I decided at that point that I was not going to come back to him. I was not going to see the EP in his office. That was it. So I went to an EP at Einstein Medical Center in Montgomery, in Narston, East Narton. Went to him, Dr. Thomas Klein, and he suggested I go to a 100 milligrams of metoprolol and 100 milligrams of flecainide. Initially, I felt okay with the medication, but then I realized that I was very tired by 7 o'clock every night. So he gave me the option. He was very forward with me that medication or surgery, both of them are very safe. He's not going to push me to do surgery. With the questions I had and the way I was reacting, he could tell it's not what I wanted to do. So I did my 6 weeks of that, but I was gaining weight from the flecainide. I was exhausted from the metoprolol, and paying for medication when you're 27 years old and living with those side effects, it just became too much. That became too much. The people around me suddenly freaking out over whether or not I would have a heart episode and have a heart attack and die, which SVT is not related to heart attacks at all. That just started to get really annoying really fast. So at my follow-up appointment, I decided to go ahead, ask a few more questions, and set up my ablation. I can honestly say I'm still anti-ablation, but I went through with it. I'm anti-ablation because if my heart was made like this, I believe I wanted to stay like that, and it wasn't really affecting me that much, but the medication was, and the people surrounding me were. So they were kind of the driving factors. At this point in my life, I have really good health insurance that I could get cheaper ablation than paying for my medication continually through the year. So I decided to go ahead with it. The day of, I was scheduled to go in at 8:45, so I had to be there at 7:45. They pretty much took me back right away. I got there really early and they took me back right away. They put you in a gown. Well, you put you in a gown, but you put yourself in a gown. You have to wear their socks so you don't slip, the whole hospital thing. And then a nurse comes in and she basically just moves the gown from one leg to the other, just making sure that you're shaved at your groin spot, because for those of you like me who had no idea what the heck they meant by groin, it's basically your underwear line, like your bikini line. They had to make sure that you're shaved there so that the doctors can get into your veins and your arteries through IVs. So once that's done and settled, they get you your IV. Initially they were going to go for my arm, but my veins weren't working out, so they went and did it through my hand. Once that's all set and good, my family was able to come back and hang out with me until they were ready. The cardiologist came in and talked to me, the anesthesiologist came in and talked to me, and my nurse came in and talked to me. They all kind of talked me through what was going to happen, who was going to be in the room with me, stuff like that. I brought my iPod because for me, the iPod relaxes me at a dentist appointment because I'm scared. It relaxes me. So I asked the cardiologist if I could take the iPod back with me into the cardio lab, or the surgery room as I referred to it, but the cardio lab. And he said it was fine. So I put my headphones in when they said they were going to get ready to take me back and hit play, and I just let it play, and I literally wobbled as we rolled into the cardio lab. Fair warning for everyone else, in case they don't get fair warning. If they say they're going to give you some stuff to calm you down, it's going to burn for a second. She told me that she was going to give me some stuff to make me feel good. And I'm like, oh, good. Next thing you know, my hand burns, but just for a quick second. They took me back into the room, and I was still awake and conscious enough to know what was going on. And I was actually curious because I had been scared up until that point. But once we got in the room, I was curious, and I was looking around, and it basically looked like a whole bunch of MRI equipment from what I could see. So then they said, okay, we're going to put you under, and we're going to get you set up, get the IVs in you. And I said, okay. Next thing you know, I'm out. I do not remember anything from the point that I was out. I do remember waking up in the cardio lab. I moved a little bit and realized that I was handcuffed to the bed. I don't know if I had tried moving already or if they do that as a protocol. But I was handcuffed to the bed, and I said, what's going on? And they said, oh, just so you don't touch anything. So I was like, oh, okay, understandable. I get that. I don't want to move. So I turned my head a little bit, and I just tried to watch the screens but I really couldn't tell what was going on, so I was just like, alright, this is kind of boring now. And they were like, alright, we found it, you're going back under. And I said, okay. And next thing you know, I woke up in my recovery room where they had set up my IV, and I was completely flat, and they're like, how are you? And I'm like, okay, and I'm just tired, and I had the oxygen thing in through your nostrils. So that was weird because I didn't go in with it, so coming out with it, I was just kind of like, oh, there's something here. They asked right away if I wanted to see my family, and I said, nah, I'm going to sleep for a little bit, but I couldn't because I'm not a back sleeper. So they let my family and friends come in a couple at a time, but they were very generous about letting my nieces come in because they are 6 and 8, and we weren't sure how that was going to work out, but they were very generous about letting them come in. I had to lay flat for an hour, and then every hour after that, they sat me up slowly. At the end of sitting up, they let me walk to the bathroom just to see that I could walk so that I could go home. I was able to walk, and it was the weirdest feeling ever because when they do the IVs in there, they put this large clear medical bandage, almost, not tape, bandage, over your groin area with the gauze and everything. So when I walked, a few things got pulled that I was not expecting. Went to the bathroom, looked like a murder scene, nothing to worry about though. And then came back and they were like, okay, you're good to go, you can get dressed. So took the IV out, took the stickers off of my chest and everything, that they have to monitor your heart. And they asked if there was anything wrong before I left. And I said I had a little pressure in my chest. So they quick did an echo and everything came back normal. So I went home. I basically just kind of chilled out that day, did nothing. But literally the next day, I was moving furniture against doctor's wishes because I'm not very good at sitting still. I was told no strenuous activity, no lifting over 10 pounds for the first week, but more or less I could go back to like a regular schedule in a couple days. As a pre-K teacher, I took the whole week off just to be safe. They ended up going in through 5 IVs for me. They told me they were going to go through 4, and they did 5 because they found 1 spot of SVT in my lower chamber, which had my heart going everywhere, and then they couldn't get it to settle. And then they also found a spot of atrial flutter in my upper chamber, I believe. So they were able to burn off both spots. They said the atrial flutter probably wouldn't have even bothered me for 20 years, but while they were in there, they just figured get it, which I'm grateful that they got it. So at this point, I'm about 4 weeks out of ablation. I can't say I haven't had issues, but I haven't had any major issues. My complaints for the first couple of weeks were that it felt like my heart was going to try to go into SVT, but then it wouldn't. Like, I kept watching my heart rate monitor and it wouldn't go. So that was the most frustrating because I felt like it was getting ready and I was like preparing myself mentally to like get the finger monitor out, lay down, the whole ordeal, and it wouldn't happen. So that was annoying, and I let my doctor know about that, and he said it's normal. Your heart's just basically readjusting. But now, about 4 weeks out, I'm not having any issues. I'm not tired from the medication, which is great. It's after midnight, and I feel awesome. Whereas 2 months ago, I would have been passed out by 10. So yeah, I would say if your lifestyle is being held back by medication, if you don't mind going in under IVs, even if you are a little afraid, and if your insurance covers it, jump on that. It's considered outpatient surgery. And if you want to double check that, you can always call your cardiologist and ask them what procedure codes they'll use, and call your insurance to let them know so you can get an actual quote. I was very worried about the money aspect, and thankfully for me, it was counted as an outpatient, and it was only $250. So that was very good for me, because that was a big driving point, paying for medication annually or just get this done. If you have any questions about the ablation or anything I didn't cover, a little more detail, feel free to comment me. I'll try to get back to you. But anyway, thanks and good luck, guys.